Yo, welcome back to another episode of Son of a Preacher Man. As always, I am your host. It's the who? S-O-A-P man. S-O-A-P man. Yo, nice short video for y'all today. We're gonna keep it light, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna do something a little uplifting, you know what I'm saying? Nothing spooky, nothing sad and dreary, you know what I'm saying? What was we talking about? Oh yeah, David. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Son of a Preacher Man proudly presents the second book of Samuel, part 5, the Oath. Now check it out. I really been eagerly anticipating this episode. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy making it. We starting off in the second book of Samuel, chapter 9, verses 1 through 8. And it reads, "And David said, Is there any left of the house of Saul, that I may show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" Now, if any of you are confused about what David's talking about, he's referencing I shouldn't say recently deceased, but he's referencing his friend Jonathan. Jonathan was King Saul's son and heir to the throne. See, back when David was just a young whelp turned national hero after defeating Goliath in single-armed combat, he became best friends with King Saul's son Jonathan. And when King Saul turned on David, his King Saul, Jonathan, was one of the people that came to David's aid. Jonathan said, "Yo, look, my pops is bogus, dude. You haven't done anything that warrants my father's behavior." And Jonathan helped David survive. He fed David information. He helped David escape Saul's wrath. And most importantly, he stayed loyal to David. And him and David made several pacts, you know what I mean, during the course of their relationship, up until when Jonathan was killed by the Philistines in battle. And this oath that David made with Jonathan was that they would remain friends through all of this chaos. They expressed love for one another. And they made a vow to each other that each one of them would take care of the other one's kids. Jonathan seemed to know that his father was going to receive the short end of the stick. There were prophecies and sayings, and really a lot of people saw it, that David was going to come out on top of this confrontation between him and King Saul. Because David seemed to just be blessed in whatever thing he did. Everything turned to gold for David. Everything David touched turned to gold. And so Jonathan kind of saw the writing on the wall. And Jonathan made David promise him that, look, man, no matter how this turns out, you know, when you come into your kingdom, you know, when you come, you know, to power, because it was evident to Jonathan and even to his father, King Saul, that God was with David. And so Jonathan, you know, he had David make a vow to him, look after my kids, you know, when you upgrade and come into power. Look after my kids. Swear to me that you're going to be kind and show kindness to my kids. Because understand this, man, when it's a rivalry for the throne, a lot of bad stuff tends to happen. And normally in history, like say if you was king and you died and I became king, normally in history, I would wipe out your kids because I don't want anybody challenging my reign. So I just wanted to catch you up to speed. Let's take it back from the top. Second book of Samuel, chapter 9, verses 1 through 8, and it reads, and David said, now this is after David, he's defeated wave after wave of enemies. He's established himself as a successful king of Israel. And the Bible in the last episode said God gave him rest round about from his enemies. He was so comfy, he even had time to bring back the Ark of the Covenant. So David is sitting pretty on top. He's successful. He solidified himself as king. God clearly has his back. And so it says, and David said, is there any that is left of the house of Saul, that I may show kindness for Jonathan's sake? So what you have is David keeping his part of the bargain. David is upholding his vow. He's making good on the oath that he made to Jonathan, even though Jonathan is no longer alive. And it says, and there was of the house of Saul a servant whose name was Ziba. And when they had called him unto David, the king said unto him, art thou Ziba? And he said, thy servant is he. And David said, is there not yet any of the house of Saul, that I may show the kindness of God unto him? And Ziba said unto the king, Jonathan hath yet a son, which is lame on his feet. And the king said unto him, where is he? And Ziba said unto the king, behold, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, in Lo-debar. And it kind of sound like El-debar. El-debar. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was that song he made? To the rhythm of the night. Okay, I ain't here to sing to you, so just follow along. It says, and Ziba said unto the king, Jonathan hath yet a son, which is lame on his feet. Now we gonna dig into that a little bit. Which is lame on his feet, he says. And the king said unto him, where is he? And Ziba said unto the king, behold, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, in Lo-debar. I think that one guy's name that sung that song was El-debarge. You know what I'm saying? It's just a little play on words. It says, then King David sent and fetched him out of the house of Machir, and the son of Ammiel, from Lo-debar. Now when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, was coming to David, he fell on his face and did reverence. And David said, Mephibosheth. And he answered, behold, thy servant. And David said unto him, fear not, for I will surely show thee kindness for Jonathan thy father's sake, and will restore thee all the land of Saul thy father. And thou shalt eat bread at my table continually. And he bowed himself and said, what is thy servant, that thou shouldest look upon such a dead dog as I am? Now, ladies and gentlemen, give me a second. We gonna unpack all of this. 2 Samuel chapter 4, verses 1 through 7 says, and when Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble. Now, let me clear this up. What I'm doing right now is I'm going back in time a little bit for explanation purposes, okay? So we going back to when Saul just died. We started off with David saying, yo, I made a vow, I made an oath to my friend Jonathan, and I intend to keep it. So is there any left of Saul's house that I may hold true to the oath that I made to my friend? And this guy Ziba says, well, yeah, there's a heir of Saul through Jonathan. And David says, bring him to me. Okay, so now we about to go back in time because I want to show y'all how he became lame in his feet. The Bible says, and he was lame in both feet. So I'm going back in time to show you how this occurs. So 2 Samuel chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. And it reads, and when Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, this would be Ishbosheth that they're talking about. It says his hands, remember, if you don't recall, Ishbosheth was the dude that came to his hero General Abner and said, I heard you were sleeping with my daddy concubine. Okay, you remember that from a couple episodes ago? So it's talking about Ishbosheth. It says, and when Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble, and all the Israelites were troubled. And Saul's son had 2 men that were captains of bands. The name of one was Baanah, and the name of the other Rechab, the sons of Rimmon, a Beerothite of the children of Benjamin. For Beeroth also was reckoned to Benjamin, and the Beerothites fled to Gittaim, and were sojourners there until this day. Now we're about to get to the son of Jonathan. And Jonathan's son's name is Mephibosheth. It's very similar to Saul's son's name, which was Ishbosheth. Okay, and it says, and Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. Now, this is the guy that we just first started talking about. When David says, is there any heir of Saul's house? And Ziba says, yes, there's a person named Mephibosheth. He's lame of both feet. So now we're talking about Mephibosheth, not Saul's son Ishbosheth. I hope I'm not confusing you. Try to keep up with me. And it says, now this is when Abner, who is Ishbosheth's top general, when he dies, there's like a scramble in Israel, and everybody's running because Abner is like really the main thing protecting Ishbosheth, Saul's son, who is now king. And all hell is breaking loose because Saul's son Ishbosheth, now that his top general is dead, he's assuming that David is coming for him to take the throne. So everybody's scrambling. Everybody in the house of Saul is scrambling. So it says, and Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. And I have in big, bold red print, it says, he was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel, meaning when the tidings of Saul and Jonathan's death came out of Jezreel, because that's the place where they were killed. And his nurse took him up and fled, and it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's unpack what we just read, for clarity's sake, of course. King Saul, the first king of Israel, and his son Jonathan are killed by the Philistines in Jezreel. And King Saul's son Ishbosheth takes over as king. Now, when Ishbosheth's top general Abner gets killed by David's top general Joab, all of Saul's people and kingdom are scrambling because they assume that David and his men are coming for the throne. So Jonathan, who is King Saul's son, who died with King Saul, he has a son named Mephibosheth. And so, like all of Saul's house, all of Saul's kinfolks and servants, they're scrambling and they're fleeing. Mephibosheth, who is Jonathan's son, he has like a nurse or a servant that acts as his nurse that is taking care of him. And in her haste, as she flees, man, I don't know what happened. Maybe she falls or something. I hate to just put it on her. Look at me for a second. I don't know what happens. I wasn't there. But somehow this boy then got injured and then broke his feet and became lame of his feet for the rest of his life. Now, this is before the time of modern medicine. Okay, so I don't know what was happening. Maybe she snatched him up and she was running down some stairs and fell, or maybe she tripped over one of his toys. I don't know. Maybe it was his fault. Maybe he was like, you forgetting my toy. Don't forget my teddy bear. And she done tripped over this little dude. Man, I don't know what happened, but the lady responsible for this dude then either dropped him, fell down some stairs, trampled him in a stampede. Whatever happened, this boy then got injured and was left handicapped, lame of both his feet. Best be glad I wasn't in charge. I'd have been like, you impudent, silly wench, off with her head. Okay? And I ain't in charge, you know what I mean? So lucky for her, because it was brutal back in them days. Lady, you didn't injure the heir to the throne? You didn't either drop this boy or tripped over this boy and left this boy handicapped? Man, real talk, all jokes aside, that's a crime punishable by death, because this kid is heir to the throne. He's a really sensitive package, which was why she was making such haste to get him to safety, because naturally you think his life is in danger. He's heir to the throne. And because you think David's coming for the throne, you thinking that he's going to eliminate any competition to his ascendancy to power. I don't know if that's a good word, or even a comprehensible word, or I don't know how well I articulated that, probably miserably, but you get what I'm saying. This dude is a threat to David being king. Little do they know, David ain't really that type of character. He's a righteous man. But I just wanted to catch you up. This lady then dropped and handicapped the prince. So anyway, moving on. David says, is there any left of Saul's house, of King Saul's house? And this guy Ziba, he says, yeah, Mephibosheth. He dwells in Lodabar, whatever it was, you know what I'm saying? In the house of Amiel in Machir. So David says, Ziba, bring Mephibosheth to me. So Ziba goes to Mephibosheth and he tells him, boy, the king then summoned you. Boy, you got to get yourself together. Make yourself presentable and head to the throne. King David himself has requested you. Now, mind you, if you Mephibosheth, you thinking to yourself, oh, my time has come. My goose is surely cooked. Why would the king be summoning me to the throne for any other reason other than to execute me? He sees me as a threat. He's probably going to behead me to make sure that I'm no threat to his future reign and the reign of his sons that will no doubt come after him, because David by now, he's had a slew of kids. He's been so successful. He's had a slew of kids. So Mephibosheth, being the good, humble servant that he is, he gathers himself together up on them two handicapped feet due to that incompetent wench of a servant who dropped him. He gets himself together. He gathers himself up on them two lame feet and he hobbles on to the throne to meet with King David as he was ordered to do. And so when he meets King David, he pays obeisance. And I don't know if I'm saying that and pronouncing it right. Hey, I'm a Negro and I'm speaking the King's English. Okay, it's like a second language to me. It's not my native tongue. So he sees King David. He immediately pays homage and gives David the appropriate respect that you give a king of King David's stature. He bows himself to the ground and pays homage to this great king. And King David says to him, rest assured, Rest assured. Be easy, young blood. Be easy. I'm not here to do you harm. I'm here to uphold the oath that I made and kept. I'm here to keep the oath that I made with your father. I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to bless you. So, Mephibosheth, naturally, he's got a bunch of emotions running through him. He came there thinking that he's about to get his head placed in his lap, and he's about to get blessed. King David says, dude, you lame on both feet. He didn't say this, but this is me just ad-libbing. He says, you no threat. First of all, David's like, dude, you're no threat to me. You lame on both feet. You can't even walk in a straight line. He says, furthermore, I made an oath with your dad. And the oath was that I would take care of his kids after him. Should he succumb to the elements, should he succumb to war, should he succumb to natural illness, I made an oath to him that I would take care of his seed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you need to understand. The Bible says a good name is worth more than silver and gold. David's grip on power is not natural. What I'm saying is he's not like King Saul and most of the kings of the earth. Because what David understands is that his relationship with God is the way that he's going to secure his reign. David knows that his relationship with God is more important than a 1,000,000-man army. So it is important to David that he has a good name. It's important to David that he does what he says he's going to do. If David says he's going to bless you, rest assured, you can bet your bottom dollar you are going to be blessed. If David says he's going to curse you, you can rest assured you're going to be cursed. If David says there's going to be peace, you can bank on it that there's going to be peace. If he says there's going to be war, you can rest assured you about to get your hat handed to you in spectacular fashion. So David says to him, look, brother, this is what I'm going to do for you. Because I made this oath with your dad, not only am I not going to kill you, but I'm going to return to you all the land and property that was your father's and your grandfather's. In short, David's about to make this man filthy rich. And that's not all. David also says, and you'll eat at my table continually. Soak that in for a minute. Is it all soaked in and absorbed? This dude comes thinking he's about to get killed, and David blesses him enormously. He makes him a rich man. He gives him land. He gives him property. He gives him money. And not only that, he gives him honor and prestige. He tells Mephibosheth, Jonathan's son, you will eat with me, the king, at my table from now on. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verses 9 through 13. And it reads, then the king called to Ziba, Saul's servant, and said unto him, I have given unto thy master's son all that pertained to Saul and to all his house. Thou therefore and thy sons and thy servants shall till the land for him, and thou shalt bring in the fruits, that thy master's son may have food to eat. But Mephibosheth, thy master's son, shall eat bread always at my table. Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Then said Ziba unto the king, according to all that my lord the king hath commanded his servant, so shall thy servant do. As for Mephibosheth, said the king, he shall eat at my table as one of the king's sons. And Mephibosheth had a young son whose name was Micah. And all that dwelt in the house of Ziba were servants unto Mephibosheth. So Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for he did eat continually at the king's table, and was lame on both his feet. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy, King David, what a guy. What a guy. The reason I was so excited about doing this episode wasn't because David was about to thwart his enemies once again. There are plenty of stories of David succeeding over his enemies, conquering any that would oppose him, using his genius to strategically outmaneuver his opponents and adversaries. But David is the Michael Jordan of kings. He's not just good on defense. He's not just good on offense. He's good on defense. He's good with steals. He's good with assists. His mere presence means good things are about to happen for everyone. What a guy. What a righteous individual. It's not all about spilling blood and winning battles and having a bunch of kids with a bunch of wives and concubines. This man was a man of his word when he didn't have to be. He's king. He didn't have to keep his word. He didn't have to uphold his oath to Jonathan that he made with Jonathan. But he did, and it was important that he did. Because what's also important to David is his standing with God. The God he serves is a righteous God. And so he intends to be a righteous king. And the way you do that is you keep your word. Remember episodes ago, before David became king, his wives and all of his 600 troops, wives and sons, were taken captive by the Amalekites. They wanted to stone David. And David went after him. And not only did he retrieve everything he lost, he retrieved everything that the Amalekites had spoiled from all the surrounding land. It wasn't just David and his troops' possessions that they stole. They had made rounds all the way around the land, all up and down through Judah and in south of Judah and in south of Israel. And David recovered all this stuff. And when David returned to his men, because remember, he had a total of 600 men, 200 of them stayed behind, and the other 400 went with him to raid the Amalekites. And when he came back to the 200 that had stayed behind, because remember, they were too tired to go on, they said, I can't go on. And so David said, okay, chill and guard the stuff. And so David took these 400 men, went and was victorious against the Amalekites, and then he came back. And when the 200 that couldn't go on, when he returned to them, they said, surely David's men, meaning the other 400, surely the other men of David have talked him into not giving us a portion of the spoil because we didn't go to the battle. And David told them, nah, bruh. We all in this together. Everyone's going to receive an equal portion. And the Bible said that was a law from then on. And let's not forget all the times that David spared King Saul's life when King Saul was hell-bent on taking David's life. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is not just a genius at military strategy. He's not just some handsome stud. He is a righteous king. Remember a couple episodes ago, it said that when Abner died, David lamented the death of Abner. He said, this blood is not on my hand, but on my general Joab's hand. This was wrong what happened to Abner. You know, he got stabbed in the back. He got betrayed. This ain't right. And everybody applauded David for his righteousness, for his upstanding, because he was fair and just. What a guy. What a catch. He is the envy of all men. He is the desire of all women. And this is why. This is part of the reason why David has been so successful. And Mephibosheth, Jonathan's son, well, ain't that a dandy? He eating good at the king's table. He eating good. He eating grapes. He drinking wine. Got all the bread, nuts, and raisins he can. And look, he don't have to work for it all. He can kick them two handicapped lame feet up on the table, up on the king's table. Mephibosheth is living good. I'm in the money. I'm in the money. David then broke this boy off something proper. I can't say enough. Mephibosheth is saying to himself, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. It's never been so good to be handicapped. He putting his handicap sign at the end of the king's table like, hey, this is my seat. Okay? I'll take some of that hog maw. Can you pass the gravy, please? Salt and pepper, sugar, pass them taters, please. I'm living good at the king's table, eating good, filling my belly. Yeah, real talk, Mephibosheth having the time of his life, wiggling the toes on them lame feet, kicking them lame feet up on the king's table. What more could you ask for? He's setting them two crutches next to the fruits, next to the apricots and the pears and the rack of lamb. He fixing himself a gyro whenever he want. He tasting the olives. Ladies and gentlemen, it don't get no better for Mephibosheth. He literally, he goes from rags to riches in the span of 24 hours. Such is the kindness of King David. Such is the righteousness of King David. That's why if you're a soldier in King David's army, you're happy. You're happy to serve him. It ain't like Saul. You ain't serving him reluctantly or under threat of death. You're happy to serve this king. If you're one of his servants, you're happy to be one of his servants. You're in a good place. Mephibosheth is living the good life. I can't emphasize that enough.
Purchase your tracks.
So I won't. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the part of the episode where I must bid you farewell. I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Son of a Preacher Man. If you have any make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you have any compliments, comments, or insults, please leave them in the comments section. If you want to mix it up with the Soap Man, mano y mano, one at a time or all at once, the welcome mat is on the floor. I take on all challengers. I take on all oncomers. Want to give a shout out to my man, The Jones Zone. Go and check out his channel. Me and him mixed it up in his comment section because I comment on people's channels and on their videos. And you know, we started off in a debate, but you know what I'm proud to say? that we ended up as friends. I think I've made a friend. We both learned from each other. We tossed ideas back and forth, and that's what it's all about. It's not about being right all the time. It's not about belittling somebody all the time. It's not about, getting the upper hand or one-upping somebody all the time. It's not about stepping on somebody to make yourself look taller or kicking somebody when they down. Take a page out of David's book. Be kind. Be righteous. You know what I'm saying? Or at least attempt to be. Be polite in your discord, even if you disagree with someone. Me and him started off disagreeing, and we got to tossing ideas back and forth. We're both sons of preachers. And by the end of our back and forth over a span of 48 hours, we came to an agreement. We was all hugs and kisses. No homo, nothing against homosexuals. But man, he's a good dude. And now I'm giving him a plug on my channel. Go check out the Jones Zone. You might learn something. This brother is working hard to put you up on game. And in the meantime, stay with your boy Soap Man. SOAP man. Yo, I'll see you next time. Same soap time, same soap channel, and we out.